We saw DJ Uiagalelei come in for Trevor Lawrence, had a rough first half, Trev, but then acquitted himself quite well in the second half. I know this is a road game. There's not going to be many fans there, but this is a different environment on the road in a top 4 clash when he was in high school not too long ago. What can we expect from him this weekend? This isn't Boston College. This is Notre Dame.
Zubin, you're absolutely right about that. And he passed his test with flying colors, in my opinion, against Boston College. But Notre Dame will be a different animal. They've got better personnel. It's a road trip. And Notre Dame's defense has a full game to watch what Uiagalelei likes and what he doesn't like. And really what he likes more than anything else is his fastball. I mean, he wants to wind up and let that thing fly. It's amazing the velocity on that pass. But what that means is that if you put a defender between the quarterback and the receiver, that forces him to make a more complex throw. Maybe throw it over that defender, drop it in, a little more touch. He showed that a couple of times against Boston College, but I think Notre Dame will make him show that a lot more. Now, having said that, what impressed me the most, Zubin, about him against BC was his decision-making. He stayed engaged in the game. BC tried to rattle him with blitzes that they didn't even attempt to disguise. And for the most part, he did a really good job staying focused on what he needed to focus on, which is downfield, and not what most young quarterbacks would do, and that is fixate on the blitz and try to escape.
Trevor Lawrence as well will travel with the team to South Bend, Indiana. What good is it to have him stand on the sidelines with the team? What can he add?
You know, that's a good question. I know that if he travels and stands on the sideline, it will be because he's negative. But if I'm on that sideline with him, I am distancing from him. I don't want him near me because I am not sure about that. Now, I'm not saying he's contagious in any way, but to me, it would be a bit of a distraction. The thing that he would be able to add is for the young quarterback. He's another set of eyes that can watch what's happening and then talk to DJ in between the series and give him an extra voice of counsel beyond just the coach. And sometimes when a player does that, it hits home because the player comes at it from a slightly different perspective. So my opinion is that the reason they're having him there is to try to maximize what DJ Uiagalelei is able to visualize and accomplish mentally.
The Pac-12's My Conference starts back up this weekend. What are we expecting to see from My Conference, the Pac-12?
Absolutely no earthly idea, Keyshawn. No idea what's going to happen out there. But that's part of the fun of it. I mean, the Pac-12 to me has always been one of the most fun conferences to watch because there's such a diversity of styles. There's so many teams that can beat so many other teams in the Pac-12. When you look at the SEC, for example, not a whole lot of teams can beat Alabama. Not a lot of teams in the Big Ten even have a chance at Ohio State. But in the Pac-12, typically, the race is such that a whole bunch of teams can beat the best team. And so people give them grief because of what that might mean for the playoff in terms of having an elite team that'll just sweep everybody out of the way like Clemson has done in the ACC. But from a standpoint of that conference, it makes it a lot of fun. Now, a lot of people are picking Oregon to win, and I think there's a lot to say about that. I'm wanting to see their new offensive line. Everybody's different. Their young quarterback. I'm wanting to see the new pieces on defense before I put that pressure on them. I kind of lean towards USC. I know you'd probably be happy to hear me say that, or
of course
not.
You do.
He's celebrating
right?
in here.
Listen, Keaton Slovis and his offensive weapons are as good as anybody on the West Coast, or better,
Yes.
really. I think it's the best group. And the defense, everybody's back. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, the way they performed last year, but you got to figure that this year the offense will do a little bit better at complementary football, and they'll take that air raid and they'll slow it down at times to let that defense rest a bit. But I think USC coming into it, not knowing anything else, not having seen them play, is the team to watch. And I think they'll have a chance to make the playoff if they sweep it, even though there's only 6 regular season games.
Yes, Trevor, you're the best.
Trevor, let's come back to the Southeast Coast for a minute. Georgia, Florida this weekend, a game that is typically decides the SEC East. Georgia will be without one of their best defensive players. Can Georgia still get it done for a 4th year in a row?
Yeah, that's Richard LeCount, the safety. He got into a crash on a car or a motorcycle? It was a motor vehicle of some sort. That's a lousy way to miss this game. I think they can, though. Georgia's defense is the best in the country. And when you watch them play, they are so fast. I mean, they've got inside linebackers running with wide receivers and keeping up with them on man-to-man coverage. I mean, it's fascinating to see what they do on defense. The real question will be the quarterback, Keaton Slovis. Or excuse me, he plays for USC. If he played for Georgia, that'd be fascinating. The quarterback, Stetson Bennett for Georgia. I am higher on him than a lot of other people, and I think he'll do better. The problem he's got is that his offensive line sometimes isn't that good at pass protection, and his wide receivers aren't always where they're supposed to be. And so this is a problem they had last year with Jake Fromm as well, a quarterback who's now in the NFL, so that problem lingers for Georgia. But having said that, this game is massive. Both teams only have one loss. The winner of this game has the inside track to get to the SEC championship game and then possibly off to the playoffs. So this is one of those fun regular season games that is a playoff game. And I like Georgia in the game because I trust their defense more than I trust Florida's defense.
It's a great point. Not a ton of people are talking about this top 10 matchup because everybody's worried about the top 4 matchup in South Bend. But as Jay and Trevor have both indicated, this is a gigantic litmus test game. We should mention Stetson Bennett, known as the mailman. We'll see if he delivers on Saturday. Jay loves the NBA. We'll talk about the mailman, not Karl Malone. We'll talk about the impending return of the NBA here in just 1 second. And by the way, Trev, Keaton Slovis actually joined our show yesterday, so it's shout out to Keaton Slovis. Last thing for you, shout out to your boys, BYU, in the top 10. As I mentioned earlier, under the late, great Lavelle Edwards, you played for him, legendary college coach. You won the national championship. I don't know how good BYU is relative to everybody else, but they are near and dear to your heart with an incredible quarterback in Zach Wilson. How good are the Cougars?
You know what, if I take my royal blue hat off and look at it straight as an analyst, they're very good. I mean, I don't know how good they are either. They're a legitimate top 10 team. They're a legitimate New Year's Six bowl team. Whether or not they could be a fringe playoff team, you know, we'll see. This Boise game will be a good test for them.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.